that cousin just moved to Austin, Texas, which is 3 hours away from where I reside. So I went down there, met him, and we didn't get along at all, and I left and kind of reconnected again. And he turns out, his name was Maxie Collier, and he wrote the first book on digital filmmaking, and he did a very, 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 in my opinion, groundbreaking documentary called Paper Chasers, and in that he was documenting hip-hop entrepreneurship back in, I want to say, 2002 or 3, and along the way, interview 27, as I heard it, he met a young guy named Chris. He ended up being Ludacris, and he followed Ludacris for 3 years, from when he was a radio station DJ to he was a worldwide star. He did a documentary about that, and that documentary really changed my life. It let me know that digital storytelling was the way to go. So we reconnected. He was burnt out, so burnt out Hollywood people moved to Austin, and I was asking him about a camera I wanted to buy, and he told me to buy the smallest, cheapest camera I could. I didn't want to hear that, so I went out and bought the biggest camera, the most expensive camera, the latest technology that I could. And he seen that I was serious, and we started a relationship like I was Ralph Macchio and he was Mr. Miyagi. Turns out that his grandfather and my grandmother were brother and sister. And so we formed a company called Third Cousins Media. Found out we were second cousins, but third cousins sound better. I've been in business for myself really 19 years. 1995 was the first year I took the leap of entrepreneurship, and 19 and a half years later, still here. And people you've heard of, I've done business with Fred Hammond, if you're into gospel music, Dave Hollister, if you're into R&B music, Deion Sanders, if you're into football, and Ricky Smiley, if you're into comedy. Those are people who you may have heard of. You can go to the next slide. Now, the importance of video. You know, before, video was just not available to you and me. There were 3 networks primarily, NBC, CBS, and ABC, and they kind of controlled what you've seen. But right now it's no longer an option, and as you know about, if you've heard about being on the first page of Google, video content is 53 times more likely to appear on the first page. Now, I just talked about the networks. There have been more videos uploaded in the last 30 days than in all 3 major networks in the last 30 years. Just think about that. Just think about how long you've been watching TV. You know, if I'm in my middle 40s, there's never been a time when I didn't have TV. Now, if I was talking to some people who were 60 and 70, they would remember. But in all that time, every show you've ever thought about in the last 30 days has been uploaded onto YouTube. Another reason why it's very important is 90% of viewers say watching a video about a product is very helpful in the decision-making process. One of my favorite examples of that is if you want to buy a pair of shoes from Zappos, most of them have a video that shows the shoe on a foot, shows the back, the upside down, the guy kind of bends it, and you know, they say after watching the video, 64% of viewers are more likely to actually buy. Click that button and buy. Okay, we can go to the next slide. And so on this slide, why does video work? People like to buy things from people they know, like, and trust. If you've been in marketing any amount of time, especially around the internet, you're going to hear know, like, and trust. And what better way than video to create that relationship? I travel all over the country, and people say, hey, man, I've seen this video. They may not have clicked like on it. They may not have left a comment, but they always see it. And what that does, it allows you to create a relationship. And one of my favorite sayings that's not on here is relationship creates preference. And what that means is you don't have to do the proposal. You don't need 3 proposals if you have the relationship. And so when I look at video, when I think of video, I think of, are we building a relationship? And building a relationship just means being who you are. And you're going to attract the kind of people who identify with you, who like and trust you. And also, you can blog until you're blue in the face. You can read a book until you fall asleep, which for me is usually about 20 minutes worth of reading. That's my favorite sleeping pill, reading a book. But 80% of users recall a video they viewed within the last 30 days. How many times have you seen a commercial and 20 years pass by, maybe even 30, and you still remember that commercial? My favorite example is Where's the Beef? When I say Where's the Beef to people who are my age, they think of an old lady and they think of Wendy's. How long ago was that? That commercial has been off the air, I think, since 1986 or 87. a long time. But where's the beef is still something that we all know about. And then testimonials. I just sent my son today and his friend to go see the movie 300. Simply because my friend Cliff told me it was a good movie. And I know Cliff, and I think Cliff has similar taste to mine. And I asked my son if they liked it, and they did. It says 90% of people will do business based on the personal recommendation of a friend. Okay, so videos, when we talk about video types later on in this presentation, you've got to understand that video testimonials are very important. Not just any old testimonial. There's a very specific way that one should do testimonials. Now, 75% would do business or go watch a movie or go to a restaurant based on the recommendation of an absolute stranger. And so if anyone has ever used Yelp.com, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You don't know these people. These people may have horrible taste. They may have a vendetta against a particular restaurant, or it might be the cousin of the person who owns the restaurant. And here you are going to that restaurant or watching that movie or doing business with that person based on that testimony. And what video does is it gives you a testimony that steps in before you. So that awkwardness of meeting someone for the first time when it's time to do business, that's gone. That is totally out the window. If they've seen your video, they know what you do, they understand it, they like it, they've identified with it, guess what? Most of the barriers that come from closing a sale, they are evaporated. I'll tell you, I do not do proposals from a standpoint of someone's going to collect 3 proposals. And by the time it's time to do business, for us it's just, can we agree on price? But it's not this combative, sales training that I got as a young man when I was selling stuff, or like used car salesman stuff. It's none of that kind of stuff. Now, it took a long time to learn this. Go to the next slide, Brett. It took me a long time to learn this, that who I am in this great mix. I had a love affair with cameras. I've had them for years. I was that guy 20-something years ago who financed a video camera with a VCR tape from a furniture store. So I've had cameras for a long time, and I've always been into documentation. But one thing I'm not, maybe you guys have seen it, I am not a filmmaker. And you would be making a grave error if you went out and hired a filmmaker to do your marketing videos or to help you grow your business. Now, these are 3 of my favorite filmmakers: Steven Spielberg, Spike Lee, and I keep Martin Scorsese, whatever. Can you say that word, Brett? You know that word? Scorsese. Hey, there's more than one way to say it. But their job is to play with your emotions. Their job is to make you feel a certain way. But they're not businessmen. In fact, the last film set I was on had a totally separate marketing department. They had a accounting department. They had all these departments so the filmmaker can focus on the film, getting the right shots, getting the right lighting. In fact, filmmakers might even not like what I'm talking about. They're going to talk about lighting, and they're going to talk about blocking, and they're going to talk about lower thirds and rule of thirds and depth of field and all the kind of thing that I used to do because I was trained by filmmakers. That does not convert. And when I mean convert, does not turn into money. Because although I like filmmaking, I would love to be a filmmaker, I have a board of directors. Next slide. And my board of directors has a requirement. These are my board of directors. Some people call us the Beige family. And I, in the middle, am the personal ATM for this board of directors. And when I was first getting into video, I was meeting all these people who had wonderful cameras but were living under a bridge, pursuing their dream. Well, that's not my dream. We like heat and air conditioning and food and family trips. So I had to make sure that I identified who I really was, and on the next slide I'll tell you. I am a marketer. Now, some of you might recognize that thing on the far left, which is an old school cash register. And then others like Brett, and I don't know if John Lawson's on the phone, but they love that add to cart. And then some of you new people who are high tech, you'll recognize the square. The square. The square is where you can have people pay you via your smartphone. And I love that. So right now in 2014 is the best time that I know of to be in video, to use video in your business, because of something I call, next slide, the democratization of video. When I decided that I wanted to be in the video field, it cost me thousands of dollars. The training was expensive. The equipment was even more expensive, but it was a level of commitment. So although I don't think you should find a filmmaker, you should find someone who, what I call, grew up analog before they went digital, because I have a deeper understanding. Years ago, I was a DJ, much like Mr. Leary, and it took me 1 year to save up enough money to buy 2 Technique 1200 turntables. If you know anything about DJing, that was and still is, you know, the standard.
I still have mine, man.
You know, when I get to talking to new DJs, I show them my 1989 serial number on the Technique 1200s I still have. That is my badge of honor. And it took me another year to save up and to have buy every week enough records to be able to play these requests. You got to remember, this before the internet, and you couldn't download songs. If you wanted 2 songs to cut back and forth, you had to buy 2 of them. Then I had the big speakers and the milk crates and the mixers and all that. And what that does, when you find a person who has that type of experience, they have a deeper appreciation for what we have now. And what I like to say about technology, technology allows your vision to go forth unencumbered. And what I mean by unencumbered, when I was a DJ, it was a big encumberment to buy all that equipment. In fact, I put a signature loan on my car to buy some speakers and an amp. Now, when you have someone who's that serious about it, you're going to get someone who, you know, if you stand up and say you was a DJ back in the 80s, that meant you were really a DJ. You didn't buy an iPad and an app, okay? And so while I glorify the old days, and the old days of video to me is 2007, when you look at this MacBook Pro, it was $4,000, you know, to have the hard drives and the right about memory and the right video card, and then, you know, a couple $1,000s of light kit, and XL2 Canon. This is what put everybody in the game. This was, in my opinion, and you know, filmmakers will tell you different, this was the first camera, the prosumer camera, to put you in the game. You know, this was the first camcorder. You know, the other camcorders I had was silver. You can't show up to the job with a silver camcorder. You know, this had the 3 CCDs and all that big technical stuff. But then you had to buy the lights, the mics, the connectors, the hard drives, and all the other accessories. So before you can produce one video, and I've produced thousands since 2007, you had to make this kind of investment. So the number one question I get now when I talk about the democratization of web video is, go to the next slide, please. The number one question I get is, what kind of camera should I get? And man, people give my camera so much credit. Oh man, that's a nice camera when they see the footage. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, what kind of camera is that? What'd you shoot with? Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? On the left-hand side is a hammer, and that's a nail. It's just a tool, because guess what? If you don't have a hammer, what are you going to use? A shoe. So my answer to what kind of camera should I get now is, I don't care. Just get a camera. Just get a camera. The tools are just a means to where you're trying to go. Go to the next slide. So here's a couple of cameras I'll talk about. Up in the left-hand corner, that's a DSLR. That changed the game about 3 years ago, and actually, in my opinion, it messed up the game too, because now you have people just running around with a camera because it's sub $2,000. It was $1,700 with a lens. And so before, when I was buying $8,000 to $10,000 camera, that kept people who were not committed out. You didn't just kind of happen upon, well, I kind of think I want to do this, and then you go out and spend $8,000 on a camera, $4,000 on a, no, it didn't work like that. But when you found a camera that had the form of a photography camera, it was $1,700, and now they have them $600 or less. It got confusing as to who was really a producer or a storyteller and who was just a dude with a camera. DWC, dude with a camera. That's what we call him. Dude with a camera. Hey, you the video man, you the videographer. No, I'm a digital storyteller, which is completely different. But this is the camera I shoot with. It's a 7D or a 5D. Now, when you look right across from that, that is an Android and an iPhone at the bottom. And then this Samsung Galaxy phone. I'm in love with this camera. It looks like a phone, but does everything except for make a phone call. And you can shoot video. It's beautiful. You know, you can share stuff to Instagram and Twitter. And so the tools to be in video right now, you don't really have to hire a guy like me. What you have to do is just know how to do the video right. You can make it look pretty. Pretty pictures, you know, all of them are going to shoot pretty pictures. You can put it on automatic. As long as the sun is high and you're right in front of the camera, everything's going to be good. So I want to show you some of the footage that comes from these cameras. Go to the next slide, please. These are 4 different shots, okay? And the picture quality is kind of different based on the lighting. But if you look at the picture on the top left-hand corner, that image came from that Samsung Galaxy camera, and I think it's right now it is $399. And that when I look at it, even today, it's beautiful. But you know, it was in a venue. They had, you know, thousands of dollars worth of light. It's beautiful. When you go across to the right, that was Troy Nalls' Saturday School. That was shot with an Android camera, and it was edited inside the phone, meaning that footage did not leave the phone and go into an editing software that was off the phone. It was an app on the phone. The one that says Troy Nalls Nap Time, that video was shot on an iPhone 5. You know, and then the one where you see my son playing drums, that one was with the most expensive camera of the lot, the $2,000 camera DLSR. And the reason that look as good as the Samsung Galaxy is because of the lighting. Even though that video did come out good, it had beautiful lighting at the church my son plays for. It didn't matter that the camera cost the most. The best image came from the camera that cost the least, because the iPhone was $600. The Android was probably the same. The only reason we only paid $100 or $150 for it because it was subsidized. So don't get caught up on the camera, okay? I mean, and I'm saying this, and I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to stick a fork in it, and I'm going to stir it up, and I'm going to bake it, because I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me and say, I'm going to get this camera, like a turntable is going to make you a DJ, or a hammer is going to make you a carpenter. The camera is just a tool. You can draw pictures if you want to. Next slide, please. So here's where we get to the 3 parts of any successful video production. And the first part is pre-production. Now, I am an authentic guy. I don't want to be too structured. I want the conversation to be natural, but you still need to focus on a few things. You need to focus on your keywords. And why you need to focus on keywords is because when you put that video on YouTube, YouTube transcribes that video, okay? I don't prefer YouTube transcription. I like to get my own transcriptions to make sure that, you know, grew up in California, I'm from Texas, I have a unique dialect. People who live in Atlanta are going to sound different, and YouTube is very smart, but they don't know Dunwoody or East Point language compared to South Dallas. And when you focus on keywords, you have content that is rich already with the keywords that are embedded into your videos that become another blog post. So you can take this video and you can say exactly what you want to say, make sure you're talking about your subject, make sure the keywords are in there, and Google can find it a lot easier. So you want to have an outline. Do you want to determine the type of video that you want to shoot? And I think this is where I take the biggest detour away from a traditional filmmaker. You want to focus on authority videos, explainer videos, testimonial videos, information videos. Let's go to the next slide. But even more important, you want to use the language of persuasion. This is the book that I think every business person, every marketer, everyone who needs to have copy that converts, everyone who needs to sell something or have someone participate into buying, you need the Psychology of Influence of Persuasion by Dr. Robert B. Cialdini. This is the Bible for marketers. If you don't read any book about marketing the rest of the year, read this one, okay? And the most effective videos contain the following laws of influence. You want to talk about reciprocity, reciprocation. People tend to return a favor in kind. We live in a universal balance, okay? And so before the economic system, before you had money, I might have had the pig, Britt might have had the rice, and John may have had the beans, and now we got to bring it all together and make a meal. We had to share. You know what I mean? And reciprocity is not equal. So you may give something. When I say give in your video, you may give away something that helps someone make their business easier or their life easier. It happens to me all the time. I'll put out a resource video, an information video, and someone said, man, that one tip, changed my whole business. And so reciprocity. In fact, they did a study in New York at a restaurant, and it said the average bill was $100. And if the waiter put a mint on the check, the tip went up by 17%. Now, I only have a high school diploma, but 17% of $100 is $17. How much do you think that mint cost? So reciprocity is not equal. It's not if I buy you lunch, you buy me lunch, and we both go to Panera Bread. When you do something for someone, it's hardwired that they want to get you back. They want to help you back the next time. It's like, man, I got you, I got you. We do not like being, as a people, out of balance. Okay, authority. People tend to obey authority figures. So you want to position yourself as an authority on a subject. Or if you're a doctor or a nurse or a dentist or a lawyer, you want to dress a certain way. In fact, the white coat theory is what they call it. Someone puts on a white coat and they give all kinds of medical advice. I can put on a white coat, put my name on it, and I can tell you, hey, man, eat sugar. It's good for you. And a segment of the population is going to believe it. Kind of like when dude came out and said, eat all the meat and just don't eat no carbs. People believed it. It worked for them until their heart stopped, but it worked, right? Okay. Liking. People are easily persuaded by other people that they like. And, that's why you see charismatic speakers and business leaders like Steve Jobs. He was not a very likable guy, but people liked him because he was intelligent, he was smart. You look at ministers and motivational speakers. And so if you're likable, people connect with you. Social proof. Social proof, all that means is, are others doing it? Are others doing it? You can do a little game. Stand outside with 3 of your friends and everybody look up. Most of the people who walk by will look up too. But if it's 5 or 6 of you or 7 of you looking up, everybody who walks by is going to look up. So social proof. And a lot of times you'll see that on people's websites, as seen on TV. I've been on NBC, ABC. So if Deion Sanders and Ricky Smiley and Fred Hammond, Dave Hollister is hiring this guy, we need to check into that. That's what social proof is. Scarcity. Perceived scarcity will generate demand. And I'm ashamed to tell this story. I am ashamed. But when the weed came out years ago, and I know this, and when you read this book and you see how marketers and media folks are manipulating you, you're going to still play along, but you're going to recognize that it's going to, you're going to either smile or you're going to be pissed off. Well, every year at Christmas, it seems like the video game console makers run out of games. Why do you think that is? That's scarcity. They're always available in January. And so what happened was the Wii came out, and this store, Fry's, near my house, said, hey, we only got 60 of them, and we're going to give them out to the people who come and stand in line. So I drove over there, got number 58, stood in line, and then they also bundled it. Says, oh, in order to buy it, you have to buy the controllers and this. And it ended up costing me $600. I waited in line for the opportunity, for the privilege of overpaying for a Wii. And I knew what was happening, but scarcity. It's kind of like diamonds. Diamonds are worthless, but they put such control on them that it drives the value up. And then commitment. Commitment is a sneaky thing. In my old sales training, they used to do this trick, and it says, if they can get you to commit to something, the words out of your mouth 7 times, you're gonna honor it. So when you hear someone saying, now, Britt, do you agree that insuring your car is a good idea? And you say yes, okay, that's 1. And do you agree that making sure that your family is covered in the event you get hit by a chicken truck? Yeah, yes. By the time they get down to that 7th yes, they're going to say, okay, here, why don't you buy this insurance? You can't say no. You can't say no, because if people commit orally and in writing to an idea or a goal, they're more than likely to honor that agreement. It's kind of crazy. So let's go down to the next slide, which is production. I'm not going to go too deep here because in the interest of time, and I want to really get to the questions. Hopefully there are questions. The production is the process of making the film player. This is where the magic happens. And most people are thinking about and talking about, next slide please, they're talking about the video. Well, guess what? Audio is more important than video. Audio. And I didn't believe that. Shout out to Anthony Artist for teaching me that. But video, we'll forgive video. You know, you can do some tricks, you can color it, you can make it black and white. But if you have bad audio will sabotage good video every time. Now the mics I have up here are the mics I actually have on the very left. That's a Sennheiser mic. That is a lav mic. It's a good mic. It's not a cheap mic. It's a very good mic, and that's what the professionals use. That's what I use on my paying gigs. The mic in the middle is my USB mic. That's the mic I'm talking on right now. That is a good quality podcasting style mic. And then the Rode mic on the right only costs a couple $100. It's what's called a shotgun mic, and it has a pattern right in front of the camera that it captures. And it's a very good camera. It filters out a lot of stuff. So you want to make sure, put the money into the mic. That sounds like a song. Put the money into the mic. You want to make sure that the audio is good. Another thing with social media and our people, I see, you can go to the next slide, is make sure your background is good. No shooting video in your bathroom when you got that Walmart towel set and that shower curtain you got when you were in college. You're 46 years old and you got that Walmart burgundy and green joint with the flowers on it. Everybody know you got from Walmart. Hey, you know, nothing wrong with it, but it just doesn't convey. You're out here selling a product that costs $5,000 to $10,000 and you got Walmart towels. And I get more compliments or more comments about the background. In this picture here, this is a video shot in my loft downtown, in which you can't see is probably the 100-year-old wood floors. But people, especially women, comment on the furniture. Man, where'd you buy that table? That's wonderful. And I tell them, man, my wife does all that. I just show up into this marriage with my Walmart towels. So she got rid of those. But you want to make sure that your background and your lighting are good, because people are paying attention to that. You see those selfies on the internet in the bathroom. You know you see them. You know you see them. Just make sure everything is, even I shouldn't have had that pencil on that book up there. People will make a comment on that. What book is that over there? What's that painted on the wall? What's in that glass vase? So you'd be surprised at how much people focus on what's behind them, because what's behind you tells more of a story. It tells like who you are. You know, I got on a black shirt. You know, I've got my mic on. Got some pretty nice looking furniture, and so I can probably sell you something that costs some money. But if I had the bean bag and the real, I'm just a single dude with the big screen TV, but I'm sitting on milk crates and got my drinking straight out the jug. You know, you might think of me a little bit different. Now the next slide is me and just a personal preference. To me, I don't like doing video until I get a haircut. I ain't got no hair, but I go to the barbershop, and this picture is on the same day, like an hour apart. And don't I look like a criminal, like Suge Knight, right after he got knocked out or right after he took all Dr. Dre's money, compared to when the barber was finished? So for me, you know, I take what Deion Sanders says, well, if you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. If you play good, eventually they'll pay you good. So, you know, make sure you get your hair did before you get on the video, because people are really paying attention. I get another round of compliments on, you know, my beard when it's trimmed. In fact, when we said that we're going to do this video, I asked Brent if you were going to be able to see me, because I hadn't got my hair cut this week yet. And so I look like the dude on the left with the suspect. The dude looked like a suspect. He was a big black man with a beard and droopy eyes. It looked like he was going to steal something. Next slide, please. And so post-production, you know, filmmakers they're bougie. They're snobs. You know, they want to know what you're working with. You know, what version of Final Cut you on? Are you on Premiere? Are you on Avid? You know, and they get together and they kind of just you know, compare tools. Well, if you're on a Mac, that's on the left-hand side, iMovie, it works wonderful. Or if you're on Windows Movie Maker, just focus on what you're saying. Focus on the story. And I've fallen in love with this screen capture software that was designed really to capture the screen and doing tutorials but you can also do videos. I know a lot of people who use this tool. In fact, a friend of mine in Atlanta, Monique, she really turned me on to this ScreenFlow. I'm on the Mac, and Camtasia, I think it's on the Mac and the PC, but it was back in the day. It was only on the Mac. I mean on the PC. And when it comes to learning how to edit, I'm gonna tell you the easiest way. There's two easy ways. I learned 3 ways, but 2 ways I recommend. Back in the day, software used to come with these books, and Final Cut Pro was a $2,000 program, and it came with like 8 books, and looked like the old school encyclopedias, if you remember what those were. And I read through those books for like 6 months, and man, it was hard. And then about 6 months in, I met a guy who was doing a music video. I said, dude, how much would you charge me to come sit on your set and follow you for like a half a day? He said, no one's ever asked me that. How's $200 sound? So I said, $200 it is. I flew down to Houston, and I'm not exaggerating. In the 45 minutes that we spent in the car between sets, he was able to give me tips and tricks like we're talking about now that connected 6 months worth of reading. So you always want to be in research mode, but someone who's doing it, who's done it, they can give you little things. Why are you doing it this way? You want to try this. Don't do that. That's what the book says. Do this. And so that was the best $200 I had spent in my video training experience. And then I surround myself with people who do this for a living or who make film for a living. The problem with that was they were filmmakers, and that's a very different living than marketers. So I had to take that experience that they had, learn how to do film, but learn how to put it in a business context. So you also want to look at that too. Are they out there working with clients? Or are they doing their own films? You want to make sure that you kind of get in and take that information that they have, that talent, and form it into your own world. Because what was happening when I was listening to filmmakers, I was going in and telling someone it would cost this much, and they were looking at me like I had just spit on them, because the Hollywood cost structure is much different than the Dallas, Texas cost structure. Very different. And the third way, in the way that really didn't exist when I first got started, but now if you want to know how to do something as it relates to video editing, go to one or 2 places. The cheap way to do it is go to YouTube, youtube.com, and put in exactly what you want to do. I want to do a green screen video, and there are thousands of videos out there. Some good, some suck. Or you can go to something like lynda.com, lynda.com. In fact, one of my mentors in the filmmaking industry, Anthony Artis, has a course on there on how to be what he calls a down and dirty filmmaker, guerrilla style, cheap and fast. Next slide, please. Now, and post-production is, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but, get your own YouTube channel. And then you want to make sure you have video distribution. There's more than just YouTube. And so there are tools available. That one of them is called oneload.com, where you can load a video in one place and it'll send it all over the place, because you don't know where a person may find it. They may find it on Vimeo. They may find it on Vimeo. There are different options than just YouTube. YouTube is just a 8,000-pound gorilla. And so you want to make sure that you get your videos distributed, because that's where it really starts. And that's a whole nother webinar talking about how to get seen. Now you got this wonderful video. How does it get seen? And then I'm coming to the end of my time, and I'm glad you guys are here. And I've always been taught in business you want to add value. So you go to the next slide. The next slide, free gift. Hey, I want to give you something for free. Just go to troynalls.com/free gift, and I have an awesome report that I'm actually about to start selling for $9.95. So it's a $10 value. And I'm going to keep it up for about 48 hours before I take it down and put it up on Amazon. Pause. You see how I just did that? See how I went back to that slide which says I'm going to put a time limit on it, and I'm going to give you something free. That's the reciprocity. I'm going to put a time limit on. That's the scarcity. And then I created the value. See, so I just used the 3 tricks I told you about right back on you. So I'm not doing it in a malicious way. I just wanted to take that teaching moment. So go to troynalls.com/free gift. Put your email address in, and you will receive 10 ways to outsmart your competition. It is a wonderful report. It is one of the the tricks that I used when I first got into business, because I didn't have a lot of money, and it was ways that I leveraged relationships and resources to build a business that has allowed me to, do what I do all the time. So without further ado, the next slide is the last slide, and I just want to thank you for taking time out of your day. And I know if most of you are in Atlanta, getting home by 6 o'clock is a challenge because of your horrendous traffic, no matter what the weather is. So I thank you guys for being here and paying attention. And Brent, I appreciate you having me as your guest guy.
Well, no, we appreciate you giving up so much knowledge and wisdom on a subject that is growing in importance every day, because it's getting harder and harder to get people's attention and keep it long enough to build a relationship. And video is as you pointed out in your presentation, is the one medium that can really not just get their attention, but make it memorable. And so if you have questions, this is the time to start putting them in the queue. We have one already from Van Paget. He says, regarding editing and screen capture, are you familiar with FFmpeg and Handbrake? They are open source software tools for video that are available for Windows and Linux. Do you know them, or are those tools that are pretty good, or are they?
Handbrake is one of my tools that I use to make video ready for distribution. It's one thing to shoot a video and to convert it. Now, you only have about 2 seconds before a person closes out your video. So the video has to start fast. And sometimes on YouTube and other channels like that, the video takes a while to load up. Well, I use Handbrake, which is a free program, to bring the compression rate down so the video starts fast. So you take that and then you put it onto what's called an Amazon S3 server, and if you're on Amazon, that video is distributed all over the world, and it makes it go faster. So that's just one of the things that, I couldn't go too deep in an hour, but Handbrake, that's a good question. Handbrake is an essential tool, and it's an essential free tool. They don't charge for that. And so it's Handbrake, and that's hand like your hand, and brake like brake the car, like the brakes in your car, .fr. It's a wonderful resource to bring the compression of the video down.
Yeah, let me ask you a couple of questions around what time limit, or what would be the appropriate length of a video that has been effective in getting people's attention from a business perspective?
Well, the rule, and it's funny because the filmmakers, they have a saying called "kill the babies," because a lot of times when you do a video, you fall in love with it, and it's 5 minutes. No one else is in love with it, and I tell people all the time, you got to cut that 5 minutes down to 2 or 2.5. So 2 to 3 minutes for video. But there's been a new stat that comes out, is that on a tablet, people will watch almost twice as long. And so now it's, where is your video going? And there are analytics in YouTube and other tools that tell you where a person viewed that video. Now, over 6% of videos being viewed on mobile now. So mobile and tablet is a big market. And so that the rules are kind of changing as we go. I would have never thought that a tablet, people would watch video twice as much on a tablet as they would on a desktop or a mobile.
So it depends on the actual device. I guess if you know your audience, and your audience spends a certain amount of time, getting their information via a device, then you need to optimize your movies for that experience. In other words.
Right. You need to check into the back end of YouTube. Look, when we talk about technology, Brett, if the callers don't know, I'm one of the original kings of technology. I get to hang out with Brent Leary, John Lawson, and
Ramon Ray.
Ramon Ray, who ordered grits and shrimp when he came to Atlanta, so he's not from the South. Shrimp and grits. He ordered grits and shrimp. And I get to talk about technology. We get to dive into this stuff on a level that most people don't really want to hear about. But before you had tools like Facebook and YouTube, people would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for this kind of information to companies like Nielsen and these reports. I remember I had a report about voicemail in the 90s when I was in the voicemail business. The Sprint had paid probably $100 grand for. all this information is available to you free. So when you look at your Google Analytics, which are, YouTube and Google are owned by the same people, you can tell exactly when people dropped off the video. And you can tell what they watched it on, what browser they used, what the resolution of that browser was. And a smart marketer is going to pay attention to that. A lazy marketer is going to do like what some DJs used to do. I would play the music I want to play, because I'm the man. They don't know what they want to hear, but you got an empty dance floor. You playing all the hot stuff. It's hot in New York, but it won't be hot in Dallas for another 6 months. And so a lot of people just are lazy. Marketers are lazy. All this wonderful information is there for you. You just have to use it, and it's free.
Hey, we got a question from Mary Harris. Do you think video could be useful in doing non-traditional healthcare education?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's when I talk about information videos. And what that allows you to do is you can go and create videos based on your angle, or what you're selling, or what you're representing. The thing is, they can't be salesy. They have to be informational. Just give information. Just like this webinar. I don't have a call to action. I'm not telling you to hire me, even though I come to Atlanta all the time. If you act now, and I would say 50%. I'm not doing any of that. This is about information, and the people who vibe with me, who like my style, some people wouldn't work with me because they wouldn't want to. But if you have something in healthcare, which is we're all getting older, we live in a society where a lot of people don't have health care, and we want to go back to kind of fixing ourselves. Absolutely, absolutely. You should figure out exactly what you're selling or what services you have and do videos about those, and do them once a week. Even if you do them 4 at one time, let them go out once a week, see what people are resonating with, and then you're on your way. In fact, I'll tell you this, and I get excited and I get to talking fast, so just let me slow down. But you have to develop your authentic voice. I talk about 3 things online, only 3 things. I talk about the love of business, I talk about family, and I talk about music. When I get to talking about politics and healthcare and who won the voice, none of my audience resonates with that. They look at me like I'm nuts. But I'm talking about family, I'm talking about business, I'm talking about music, people resonate. And I have the analytics to back that up. And so absolutely, absolutely, there's an audience for you. There's an audience for people who like, racing 3-legged horses. We just don't know. But if they're there, you can find them. They can find you via videos. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful question. But yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think as you so eloquently put it out, the main thing is people are looking for help, answers, solutions. And if you can create solutions that are easily consumable in a video, regardless of what industry you're in, I think you have a much better chance of connecting. So that's a great question. We have another question from Stephanie Roll. If you have a testimony in another city, how do you integrate their video footage into the one you are making? Do the recommended editing tools allow for that integration?
Without knowing where you're at right now, the short answer is yes. So if I understand the question, they've shot a testimonial. Can they send you that footage and then you edit it into yours? Absolutely. And if you have a Windows machine or a Mac machine, and then I wish I had the name of it right now, but there are online editing tools. Do a Google on search on online editing tools. There are tools that you can use that you can edit video online for absolutely free, and then you pay a premium if you want the watermark removed. One of them is Spot Mixer, spotmixer.com. Now you don't go out there telling people about this one. This is my secret sauce. Spot Mixer. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you how much money I made off of Spot Mixer. Because what Spot Mixer allows you to do is create a commercial using stock footage. See, if you want a high quality commercial, sometimes you have to go out and shoot real good stuff. Or you go to a site like Spot Mixer, and it gives you this, okay, you want medical stuff. So it'll pull you up people who have shot footage in the medical field. You know what I mean? And then you can make that video. It's free. And then if you want to run on YouTube, it's like $79. You can't get me to get up out my bed for $79. But this is one that this is a tool that I would recommend for just the people on this call. Don't go out there and tell nobody, because I still use this to sell to customers. I I might pay $79, but someone else might pay $1,500 for it.
Wow. Okay. We'll keep it in the family. How's that, sir?
In the family.
Hey, we got a question from Atlanta Tribune's own Allison Slocum.
Allison.
Is Vine or IG video worth the hassle if you are a business?
You know, I go back and forth on that. It just depends on your business. If you're in the nightclub business, if you're in the imagery business, you know, you want to be a model, or you're a comedian, Vine and Instagram are excellent places to live. I can't tell my story in 15 seconds or even 6 seconds. But there are some comedians and there are some models and there are some nightclubs that all they use is Instagram and or Vine. So it really depends on what business you're in. And like people like my son, I have a 15-year-old son. He can stay on Vine for 4 hours looking at 6-second videos. And they don't use Facebook, they use Instagram. So do I think there's a market for it? Yes. Is it for me? No.
Okay, got you. Hey, what are some of the important stats that people should kind of key in on to see how effective their videos are being for their particular purpose of trying to, you know, do lead generation and build relationships?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the least important stat, and that's views. You know, people say I got 1,000, 100,000 views on YouTube. Well, how many customers did you get? And so the most important stat is conversion. Did your video cause someone to visit your website? Did it cause someone to call? Now, in that, you have to have systems set up and in place that allow you to take advantage of. The thing I see most are people want real nice video, and then we can drive, you know, 50 new visitors to their website in a week, and their website doesn't have anything that collects that email address. It doesn't say really what they do. There's no call to action, and they lose that corporate asset. Anytime someone clicks on something to come see more about you and you don't have a way for them to easily communicate, they'll go somewhere else. Look, if you look at Amazon, Amazon does not want you to click a lot. And so when you get there, they know what to do with you. And it's small business people, we need to understand more than just, I got a website, I have a blog, I have my social media, I have my video. Video is just part of the mix that will drive a person to make a decision. You got to be ready to help them. And so the most important for me is conversions, conversation, is even comments, because that means people are engaging with that content. So those are some of the most important ones. And let me talk about testimonial. The young lady before had asked a question about testimonial. Here's the formula, one of my other secret sauce formulas for testimonials. Testimonials are very formulaic, if that's the word I can use. And you want to figure out, okay, in my business, what are the top 3 objections I have to overcome? What are the top 3 benefits that my business has for the consumer? And what are 3 things I wish they knew, but they don't? And then you have them answer those questions. And so, like, let's say for me, a testimonial of someone hiring me to help them with their videos. I would have the person say something like, many people believe that it was expensive and time-consuming. But Troy came in, he was here about an hour, and it was very affordable and effective compared to other marketing techniques, other marketing things that we've done. And what I've done right there is I've answered objections before people have. And that testimonial gets to speak for you. So not only do you get the power of the third party is saying things to overcome the objections that the people didn't know they had before they had them. And that makes you look smart. And you know all the objections that you face in your business. And you know all the benefits. And you have them address those benefits in that testimonial. You don't just let them talk willy-nilly. So that's a good, and then the second part of a testimonial is if they did something for you, you know, what was it and how measurable was it? I'm going to read a testimonial of one of my clients. Before working with Troy, I didn't have a clue about the power of video and how it can help increase sales. I ain't talking about views. I ain't talking about pretty pictures. I'm talking about sales. Troy, in his patient, fun, insightful way, shot footage, worked his magic, and posted a video stream that positions me as an authority. Those videos helped me attract, engage, and convert the right clients for my first telesummit, which resulted in 120K emails clicked, 10K in sales, and an 80% increase in my list size, resulting in over $34,000 in sales so far.
Let me ask you real quick, because we got just a few minutes left.
Yeah.
What are maybe at the high level, what are the 2 or 3 things that people need to plan, design for to make sure that they get the right story out in that short amount of time? What kind of outline do they need to put together to make sure that they have the right message and the right points built into the video before they even start to shoot it?
Well, first of all, just start. When I look back at my first videos with them expensive cameras, I'm embarrassed. I wouldn't even show anybody. So the first thing you want to do is start. Do like Microsoft, release it before it's ready. Okay? What they want to focus on is what's the end result. What do you want a person to do? Start with the end in mind. Do you want them to call? Do you want them to click? Or do you just want to build authority? And once you know that, everything else becomes easy, and work towards that goal. It's kind of like I tell people, I want to go to Atlanta. Okay? That's my end game. So how do I get there? I can take I-20, I can book a flight, I can ride a bike. As long as I know where I'm going, just do everything towards that goal.
All right, last question. If you're not sure that if you can do this on your own, well, maybe the question is, how do you determine if you should try doing this, or should you try to find somebody that can help you do it right? What kind of people are the kind of people that you think will do a good job of handling this on their own versus folks who probably should try to get somebody else to help them with it?
Well, that's a matter of budget. I mean, it's simple and plain. Where is your time best used? Is your time best used in doing what you do? Say you do hair. Trying to produce video and you do hair is probably going to be futile. And so what I do is I recommend you'll get as well acclimated to what you're doing as you can as far as your video. And if it looks good. You've watched TV your whole life, and so I would recommend that people try it themselves. But if they really want the results, they should hire someone like myself, and there's people who do this in Atlanta. But the more you know, the more that you can instruct the person in what you want. That's why I learned video. I learned how to edit at first because I wanted to turn around and tell an editor what I want. But I was looking at it for a career. If you're looking at it to sell a book or to sell a product, you might want to look at a professional, and you can find them with a Google search.
Yeah. And if they want to find you to talk more about this, they can do it with Troy at TroyNalls.com, correct?
Troy at TroyNalls.com, and I'm actually developing a course that teaches people how to shoot their own video. How to do everything from soup to nuts. I don't have that yet, but if they get that free report and get on my list, they will know. And like I said, I'm in Atlanta all the time, and I can smell a course coming up in Atlanta.
All right, so just so that I went back to that slide because I know the Tribune audience, and I'm part of that audience, we love free stuff. So I would take Troy up on his offer. So go to TroyNalls.com/free gift. Then you put their email address in, and you'll shoot the report back to them?
Automatically.
Automatically. All right. Troy, it has been a real pleasure. We really appreciate all the expertise and knowledge that you brought to us. And I know Van Paget had a question about will this webinar be available for download later to share. The answer to that is yes. Be out on the lookout. You'll get an email either later tonight or sometime tomorrow with some links to the information. We're just going to ask you to fill out a short survey, but that's a very small price to pay to get the kind of information that Troy just dropped on us this hour. So once again, Troy, thank you so much for being our guest lecturer tonight. And folks, that is it for this, I'll say, episode of the TNT webinar series from the Tribune. But next month, and take note, next month we're going to have to do this on the Wednesday instead of the second Tuesday because I'm traveling on that day. But we will do it on Wednesday, April the 9th, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Stay tuned. We'll give you an email that will get you all the information about what we're going to be talking about the next time around. So with that, I hope you have a great evening, and we will hear from you or talk to you next month. Thanks again.